In recent months, the same phrase has been heard more and more often in the tech community. Artificial intelligence is stepping out of the screen, and according to several authoritative publications, OpenAI is currently the company closest to making this transition a reality. If AI previously existed in the form of apps, chats, and services inside smartphones and computers, now, against the backdrop of explosive growth in generative models and a sharp drop in computing costs, OpenAI, according to insiders, is working on creating a first-of-its-kind physical AI device that is meant to change the very perception of how humans interact with technology. Sources close to the project say that inside the company, this product is viewed not as a gadget, but as a new platform, something between a personal assistant, a companion, and a constantly present intelligence that literally lives next to the user. According to Bloomberg, The Information, and Reuters, development of the device is being carried out under strict secrecy by a separate team operating outside OpenAI's traditional software divisions. And a key moment was the involvement of legendary designer Jony Ive, the person who once shaped the look of the iPhone, iPad, and modern consumer electronics at Apple. Insiders claim that the philosophy of the new AI device fundamentally differs from anything seen before. OpenAI does not want to create another smartphone, another smartwatch, or another speaker, instead aiming to make AI as invisible, natural, and constantly accessible as possible, without the need to look at a screen or hold a device in one's hands. According to preliminary data, the device will be compact, wearable, or pocket-sized, without a classic display or with a minimal visual interface, where the primary interaction channel is voice, context, and the surrounding environment. Sources describe the device as a physical embodiment of ChatGPT, capable of hearing, understanding, remembering, and reacting to what is happening around the user in real time, without requiring constant commands or activations. From a technical standpoint, according to leaks, the device will include a specialized AI processor optimized for local inference, allowing some tasks to be performed directly on the device without constant cloud access, reducing latency and increasing privacy. At the same time, complex computations, content generation, and deep analysis will take place in OpenAI's cloud infrastructure, creating a hybrid operating model in which the device remains intelligent even without smartphone-level hardware. According to industry analysts, the device will feature an array of microphones with spatial positioning, elements of computer vision, and sensors that capture context, from noise and lighting to user movements and habits. This means the AI will be able not only to answer questions, but to anticipate user intentions, offer solutions before they are voiced, and gradually adapt to the owner's lifestyle. Sources emphasize that OpenAI is betting on personalization. The device will learn a specific person, their speech, schedule, interests, and communication style, and over time will become something like a digital reflection of the personality, always nearby. According to preliminary specifications, the device will operate autonomously for an entire day, using energy-efficient chips and aggressive optimization, and charging, according to rumors, may be implemented via magnetic dock stations or wireless solutions to minimize friction in everyday use. Insiders also claim that the device will be deeply integrated with other services and gadgets, smartphones, laptops, smart homes, vehicles, while not being tied to a single ecosystem, which distinguishes OpenAI's approach from the strategies of Apple or Google. Inside the company, according to The Information, the project is viewed as a potential iPhone moment for the AI industry, a point after which users will stop perceiving artificial intelligence as software and begin to see it as a constant presence. Notably, leaked timelines point to a possible announcement no earlier than the second half of 2026, which indicates the high complexity of the product and a desire to bring it to a state where it can truly reshape the market rather than become just another experiment. Analysts note that if OpenAI succeeds in executing its vision, entire segments of the industry could be put at risk, from smartphones and smart assistants to wearable devices and even parts of social platforms, since a next-generation AI device could take over functions of communication, information search, planning, entertainment, and work, becoming the primary interface between humans and the digital world. In recent years, the world of technology has found itself at the epicenter of a new global race, the race for artificial intelligence. And if earlier it seemed that leadership in this field belonged to companies like OpenAI, Google, or Nvidia, now more and more insiders claim that Apple is preparing an unexpected and possibly the most ambitious response in the company's entire history. According to information from several sources within the industry, Apple is developing a completely new type of device that inside the company is called Apple Cube, a compact physical AI device capable of becoming the center of human interaction with artificial intelligence. And if the leaks turn out to be true, this could become one of the most radical steps by Apple since the release of the first iPhone. According to insider reports, Apple Cube is not just another gadget, but an attempt by Apple to completely rethink how people interact with artificial intelligence. The idea of the device is to make AI not simply a program inside a phone or computer, but a separate physical object, a kind of intelligent core for the home, office, or personal space of the user. Imagine a small transparent cube inside which there are computing modules, sensors, and a new specialized Apple chip designed for artificial intelligence processing. According to sources, this project has been developed for several years in deep secrecy, and its main goal is to bring Apple back to the center of the AI revolution, because in recent years, the company has noticeably lagged behind in this race. While OpenAI is creating increasingly powerful versions of ChatGPT, Google is developing its Gemini models, and Chinese companies are investing billions in AI ecosystems. Apple for a long time focused on privacy, optimization, and gradual implementation of machine learning in its devices. However, now the situation has changed. According to insiders, Apple's leadership has concluded that the company risks losing technological leadership if it does not offer the world a fundamentally new format of AI product. That is why the Apple Cube project has become one of the priority directions inside the company. The main idea of the device is to transform Siri from an ordinary voice assistant into a full next-generation artificial intelligence. Many users have criticized Siri for years for its limited capabilities and lagging behind competitors. But now, Apple is reportedly working on a completely new Siri architecture based on modern language models and local AI computing. Apple Cube is supposed to become the hardware platform for this new version of Siri. Inside the device, according to sources, there will be a special next-generation neural processor capable of performing complex AI tasks directly on the device without the need to constantly send data to the cloud. This will allow Apple to maintain its main philosophy, protecting user privacy. But the most interesting part is the potential capabilities of such a device. According to insiders, Apple Cube will be able to act as a personal AI assistant that understands the context of the user's life. It will be able to analyze data from iPhone, Mac, Apple Watch, and other Apple devices, helping plan the day, manage the home search for information, create texts, edit photos, generate ideas, and even participate in decision-making. Some sources claim that the device may be equipped with a spatial audio system and several microphones so that the AI can accurately determine the direction of the user's voice and respond to commands almost instantly. Other insiders talk about possible integration with Apple's AR devices and future versions of Apple Vision, which would allow the Cube to be used as the central brain for the entire spatial computing ecosystem. But the most intriguing part is that Apple Cube may become not just an addition to the iPhone, but a new type of device that over time could even compete with the smartphone itself. Apple's history shows that the company likes to create entirely new categories of products. Once such a device was the iPod, then the iPhone, later the Apple Watch. And now, perhaps, Apple is trying to create a new type of gadget, a physical AI companion. Insiders claim that inside Apple, this project is being considered as a potential next big platform. And if everything goes according to plan, within a few years, such devices could become as common as smartphones are today. However, Apple has a serious reason to move faster. It is already known that OpenAI is preparing its own physical AI device, being developed by the legendary designer Jony Ive. the man who created the appearance of the iPhone and many other iconic Apple products. This project is already being called one of the most ambitious in the history of artificial intelligence, because its goal is to make ChatGPT not just an application, but a separate device that will accompany a person everywhere. And if OpenAI really releases such a product before Apple, it could change the balance of power in the technology market. That is why Apple, according to rumors, is trying to present its AI device as soon as possible. Some sources claim that inside the company, closed demonstrations of Apple Cube prototypes are already taking place. In these prototypes, according to reports, a transparent body is used with internal lighting that shows the activity of the AI system. When the device processes a request or performs a task, the light inside the cube begins to pulse softly. This creates the effect of a living device, as if intelligence is truly working inside. Such a design fits perfectly into Apple's philosophy, turning technology into something emotional and aesthetically appealing. But design is only a small part of the story. Apple's real bet lies in the software platform. According to insiders, the company is actively investing in the development of its own language models that will operate inside its ecosystem. These models will be optimized to work on Apple Silicon chips and will be able to perform many tasks locally. This means that users will be able to communicate with AI without delays and without sending personal data to remote servers. In addition, Apple Cube may become the central element of the smart home. It will be able to control lighting, climate, security, household appliances, and other devices through the HomeKit system. But unlike ordinary smart speakers, the Cube will have a much deeper understanding of context. It will be able to analyze user behavior, anticipate needs, and automatically perform tasks. For example, it could remind about a meeting, suggest the optimal route to work, order groceries, play music, or even help prepare for a presentation. And all of this in the format of a live dialogue with artificial intelligence. However, many analysts believe that the main goal of Apple Cube is not simply to create a new gadget, but to relaunch the company's strategy in the AI era. In recent years, Apple has been criticized for not demonstrating the same breakthroughs in artificial intelligence as its competitors. But Apple traditionally acts differently. The company often enters the market later, but with a product that changes the rules of the game. That is exactly what happened with the iPhone, which appeared after many other smartphones, but completely transformed the industry. Perhaps Apple hopes to repeat this scenario in the field of AI as well. It is also interesting that some sources suggest Apple Cube may become part of a larger ecosystem of future devices. For example, in the future, the company could release a portable version of the Cube that will work as a personal AI assistant accompanying the user throughout the day. There is also discussion about possible integration with Apple Cars if the Apple Car project ever returns to life. In that case, the Cube could become the central AI brain for the vehicle. But for now, all of this remains at the level of leaks and speculation. Officially, Apple has not confirmed the existence of the Apple Cube project. However, several sources claim that the company is already planning a closed presentation for partners and developers. According to rumors, this closed release may take place as early as September. If this information is confirmed, we may see the first real demonstrations of the new device already in the coming months. And then it will become clear whether Apple is truly ready to regain leadership in the era of artificial intelligence. If we imagine that the technology industry is now experiencing one of the most tense and at the same time exciting periods of the past decades, it becomes obvious that the main battle is unfolding no longer around smartphones, laptops, or even electric vehicles, but around artificial intelligence and the devices that will be able to make this intelligence part of everyday human life. According to a number of insiders from the Asian technology industry, the Chinese company Xiaomi, known for its smartphones, smart homes, and ecosystem of devices, is now actively working on its own first physical AI device, which may become one of the most ambitious projects of the company in its entire history. Sources claim that inside the company, this project is considered a strategically important step that should allow Xiaomi not only to participate in the global artificial intelligence race, but also potentially to take a leading position in it. In recent years, technology giants have gradually begun to realize that the future of AI lies not only in software platforms or cloud services, but also in physical devices that can become a direct interface between humans and artificial intelligence. That is exactly why companies such as OpenAI are already preparing their own devices in which ChatGPT may receive a physical form, and Apple, according to rumors, is actively working on a new generation of AI devices that may radically change the familiar concept of the smartphone. And now, judging by insider information, Xiaomi has also decided not to stay aside from this race. According to preliminary data, the new project is being created inside the Xiaomi AI division and is supposed to become the company's first device completely built around artificial intelligence. The main idea of this device is to make AI not simply a function inside a smartphone or computer, but a separate independent product that will constantly stay near a person and perform the role of a next-generation intelligent assistant. Inside the company, this project is viewed as an attempt to rethink the very concept of interaction between humans and technology. Instead of constantly opening applications, entering commands, or searching for information manually, the user will simply be able to interact with the device directly, and artificial intelligence will understand the context, analyze the situation, and propose solutions almost instantly. Some sources claim that prototypes of the device are already undergoing internal testing and look quite unusual compared to familiar electronics. Unlike traditional smartphones or tablets, the new AI device from Xiaomi may have a completely different form. According to people familiar with the project, various design options are being considered, from a compact desktop device to a portable AI assistant that can be carried with you. The main goal is for the device to become a natural part of the user's life and to constantly stay near them, similar to a personal digital assistant. One of the key elements of the project is the integration of a new generation of AI models from Xiaomi, which are currently being actively developed inside the company. These models are expected to be capable not only of answering user questions, but also of understanding the surrounding environment, analyzing images, voice, the context of conversation, and even human behavior. As a result, the device will be able to perform functions that today are distributed among dozens of different applications and services. For example, the AI device will be able to control a smart home, assist with work, analyze schedules, remind about important events, search for information, translate speech in real time, and even help in decision-making. In essence, this is an attempt to create a universal AI interface for the entire Xiaomi ecosystem. And this is where the strategic aspect of this project becomes especially interesting. Today, Xiaomi already possesses a huge ecosystem of devices, from smartphones and televisions to robot vacuum cleaners, security cameras, smart lamps, electric scooters, and even cars. If the new AI device becomes the central element of this ecosystem, it will be able to control all devices simultaneously and turn into the real brain of the user's digital infrastructure. This means that a person will be able to interact with all their technology through a single AI interface. It will be enough simply to say a command or ask a question, and the system will automatically perform the necessary actions. That is why inside Xiaomi, this project is viewed not simply as a new gadget, but as the foundation of the company's future AI ecosystem. However, the situation on the market is developing so rapidly that Xiaomi has almost no time for mistakes. On one hand, the company has indeed managed to achieve impressive success in recent years, and in many areas has even surpassed some competitors, including Apple. This is especially noticeable in the smartphone and smart device markets. But on the other hand, competition in the field of artificial intelligence is becoming increasingly intense. South Korean technology companies are actively investing in the development of AI technologies. Apple is gradually accelerating its developments in this area, and Chinese giants such as Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent are also working on their own AI ecosystems. In such a situation, Xiaomi needs to present a product that will be able to stand out against the background of all these developments. That is why the new AI device must become not simply another smart device, but a real technological breakthrough. According to sources inside the company, many scenarios for using the future device are currently being considered. One of the most discussed options is the creation of an AI hub for the home that will be able to analyze user behavior and automatically adapt the operation of the entire ecosystem of devices. For example, the system will be able to turn on lighting, regulate temperature, start music, or remind about tasks depending on a person's habits. Another option assumes the creation of a portable AI assistant that can be taken with you. Such a device will be able to help during travel, translate speech, search for information about places around, analyze schedules, and even perform the functions of a personal assistant at work. At the same time, special attention is being paid to the integration of a voice interface, because voice interaction is considered one of the most natural ways of communicating with artificial intelligence. However, some insiders claim that Xiaomi may go even further and create a device that will combine several different functions at once. For example, the AI device may have built-in cameras and sensors that allow it to analyze the surrounding environment. This will allow the system to recognize objects, understand user actions, and even offer help in real time. Imagine a device that can suggest a recipe simply by seeing products in the kitchen, or help repair equipment by analyzing an image through the camera. These are exactly the kinds of possibilities that are actively being discussed today inside the technology industry. At the same time, it is important to understand that the exact characteristics of the future device still remain unknown. Xiaomi traditionally hides the details of its developments very carefully until official announcements. Nevertheless, many analysts are confident that the company is indeed making a serious bet on this project. Some experts even suggest that in the long term, such AI devices may become a new stage in the development of consumer electronics and gradually begin to compete with smartphones. Of course, this will not happen instantly, because smartphones have already become an integral part of the lives of billions of people. But if AI devices are able to offer a more convenient and natural way of interacting with technology, they may well change the familiar model of using digital devices. In recent months, something has been happening in the technology world that many analysts already call the beginning of a new global race: the race of physical artificial intelligence devices. If until very recently, artificial intelligence existed mainly inside applications and cloud services, now the largest technology corporations in the world have begun preparing the next step, moving AI from smartphones and computers into separate physical devices. According to insiders from the industry, following companies such as OpenAI and Apple, Samsung is also actively entering this race and is working on its first full-fledged physical artificial intelligence device. The project, which according to sources inside the industry, has received the working name Samsung Sphere, is being created on the basis of the Galaxy AI ecosystem and may become one of the most ambitious products of the company in recent years. The main idea of the device is to make artificial intelligence not just a program in a phone, but a full physical assistant that will constantly stay near the user and help in everyday life. According to sources, Samsung engineers are currently actively experimenting with a new device form factor, which may look like a compact futuristic gadget capable of interacting with a person through voice, visual projections, and sensory interfaces. Inside the company, this project is considered potentially one of the most important in the last decade because it is supposed to help Samsung strengthen its position in the global artificial intelligence race. Despite the fact that Samsung today remains one of the largest technology manufacturers in the world and even surpasses Apple in some areas, the company is beginning to experience serious pressure from Chinese technology giants, which are rapidly developing in the field of artificial intelligence and hardware innovations. Companies such as Huawei, Xiaomi, and Baidu are already investing billions of dollars in the development of their own AI platforms and new types of devices that may change the consumer electronics market. At the same time, Apple, which for a long time was considered to be lagging behind in the field of artificial intelligence, is beginning to actively reduce this gap. After launching its own Apple Intelligence platform, the company has begun preparing an entire line of next-generation devices that should integrate AI deeper into the Apple ecosystem. According to analysts, It is precisely this pressure from competitors that became one of the reasons why Samsung decided to accelerate the development of its own physical AI device. Insiders claim that the Samsung Sphere project is being developed under conditions of strict secrecy, and only a limited number of engineers and executives inside the company have access to it. It is assumed that the device will become a kind of center of the user's personal artificial intelligence, capable of analyzing everyday tasks, helping with work, managing the smart home, creating content, answering questions, and even predicting the user's needs based on their behavior. In essence, Samsung is trying to create a device that will become a new type of personal computer, but completely built around artificial intelligence. If smartphones became the center of digital life over the last 15 years, then the new generation of AI devices may become the next stage of technological evolution. Interestingly, Samsung considers this project not just as a separate gadget, but as part of a much larger strategy. The company is already actively developing the Galaxy AI platform, which is gradually being integrated into smartphones, tablets, televisions, and even Samsung household appliances. However, a physical artificial intelligence device may become the main center of this ecosystem. According to sources, Samsung Sphere will be able to connect to other company devices and act as a kind of brain of the entire home digital environment. Imagine a device that sits on your desk or in your living room and constantly interacts with all the gadgets around you. It can analyze your calendar, suggest solutions, control lighting, temperature in the house, the television, the computer, and even the car. Moreover, thanks to constant learning from user data, such an assistant will gradually become more and more personalized and accurate. It is exactly this concept that many analysts call the next stage in the development of personal technologies. If smartphones became a tool for accessing information, then artificial intelligence devices may become a tool for interacting with reality itself. However, Samsung is not the only company moving in this direction. This year, OpenAI also plans to present its own physical artificial intelligence device, which is supposed to become the first gadget completely built around ChatGPT. According to rumors, the legendary designer Jony Ive, the former chief designer of Apple who participated in the creation of iPhone, iPod, and other iconic company products, is working on this project. This project has already generated enormous interest in the industry because many believe that OpenAI may become one of the first companies capable of creating a truly new type of technological device. Apple, in turn, is also actively preparing its own developments. Although the company has not officially announced the creation of a separate physical AI gadget, analysts are confident that inside Apple work is already underway on several experimental devices that may become part of the future Apple intelligence ecosystem. Thus, in the coming years, we may witness a real revolution in the technology market where the largest companies in the world will compete to create a new type of personal devices. And that is why the Samsung Sphere project may become extremely important for the future of the company. According to sources, Samsung considers this device as a potential competitor even to smartphones. Although in the coming years it is unlikely to completely replace the phone, some smartphone functions may gradually move to next-generation AI assistants. For example, such devices will be able to independently process messages, manage tasks, find information, and even perform complex digital operations without the need to interact with a screen. This may radically change how people interact with technology. Instead of constantly looking at a smartphone screen, users will simply be able to talk with artificial intelligence, which will understand the context of their lives and help them make decisions. That is why many experts believe that in the future, the interface of technology will not be a screen, but a conversation between a human and a machine. However, creating such a device is an incredibly complex task. The company must solve a huge number of technical problems, including data processing, energy efficiency, security, and user privacy. According to insiders, Samsung engineers are currently actively working to ensure that part of the computing can occur directly on the device itself without constant data transfer to the cloud. This will allow artificial intelligence to work faster and increase the level of confidentiality. In addition, the company is experimenting with new types of processors that are specially optimized for working with AI. Such chips will be able to perform complex machine learning calculations with minimal energy consumption. Another important task is the creation of an interface for interaction with the user. Samsung is considering several options, including voice control projection interfaces and even elements of augmented reality. In some prototypes, according to sources, the device is capable of projecting visual elements directly onto the surface of a table or wall, turning any space into an interactive working environment. However, despite the enormous ambitions of the project, Samsung understands that the market of new technologies is extremely unpredictable. That is exactly why the company plans to first conduct a closed test of the device. According to insider information, the first closed release of Samsung Sphere may take place already at the end of this year. This stage will be intended for a limited circle of testers who will be able to try the device and provide feedback to the company's engineers. And if the rumors about Samsung Sphere turn out to be true, then Samsung has a chance to become one of the leaders of this new era of artificial intelligence. In recent years, the world of technology has been going through one of the most large-scale transformations in the entire history of the industry. What not long ago seemed like science fiction is today gradually becoming part of everyday reality. Artificial intelligence has ceased to be just a tool inside programs and is beginning to turn into an independent technological platform around which the future of the entire industry is being built. And if earlier, the main competition between technology giants took place around smartphones, operating systems, and cloud services, now the center of this competition is gradually shifting toward artificial intelligence. Companies are investing billions of dollars in the development of new models, infrastructure, chips, and software platforms. But more and more often the question arises, what will be the next step? Many experts are confident that the next stage of the evolution of technologies will be the emergence of a completely new class of devices. Devices created not around applications and screens, but around artificial intelligence. That is why the largest technology companies in the world are already beginning to work on devices that may become the first generation of so-called AI devices. According to insiders, one of such companies right now is Google. According to the latest leaks from the technology industry, the company is actively working on a completely new device, which inside the company is considered as one of the most ambitious projects in recent years. This project, according to sources, is being developed in close connection with the Google AI ecosystem. The main idea is to make artificial intelligence not just a service inside a phone or computer, but a fully fledged physical device that will be able to interact with the user on a completely new level. So far, the exact characteristics of this device remain unknown. Google has not made official statements about the project, and all information comes only from insiders familiar with the development. However, some details are already gradually beginning to appear. According to sources inside the company, the project is considered as one of the key steps in the new AI race that is now unfolding between the largest technology corporations. Today, Google is already one of the leaders in the field of artificial intelligence. Models like Gemini, a huge data center infrastructure, its own AI chips, and many years of experience in machine learning allow the company to hold very strong positions in this field. But the industry itself is starting to move further, and if earlier artificial intelligence existed mainly inside cloud services and applications, now companies are starting to think about how to bring AI into the physical world. This is where a new phase of technological competition begins. According to insiders, Google does not want to lag behind this trend and is already actively working on its first AI device. The main goal of the project is to make artificial intelligence as accessible as possible for users. This device should become a kind of physical interface for Google AI. Some sources claim that the device may function as a next-generation personal AI assistant. Unlike traditional voice assistants that we know today, this assistant will be able to understand context, analyze the surrounding environment, and interact with the user in a much more natural way. In fact, we are talking about a new type of interaction between humans and technology. If smartphones became the main device of the digital era of the last 15 years, then AI devices may become the main device of the next technological cycle. It is interesting that Google is not the only company moving in this direction. According to analysts, 2026 may become one of the most important years in the history of the artificial intelligence industry. And the reason for this is that several of the largest companies are simultaneously preparing their own AI devices. For example, according to rumors, the company OpenAI is also working on its own device, which should become a physical interface for ChatGPT. The idea is to turn AI from a program into a fully fledged device that will be able to constantly accompany the user. It may be a device without the familiar smartphone interface. Some sources suggest that such devices may not have a traditional screen at all. Instead, interaction may take place through voice, cameras, sensors, and artificial intelligence that will understand the context of what is happening around. At the same time, the company Apple, according to analysts, is also preparing its own next-generation AI solutions. Apple is already actively integrating artificial intelligence into its devices, and many believe that in the future, the company may present a completely new type of device that will be built around Apple intelligence. Thus, a new technological race is gradually being formed. Google, OpenAI, and Apple, three of the largest players in the field of AI, may soon present their own devices created specifically for the era of artificial intelligence. That is why the Google project is now attracting such interest within the industry. According to insiders inside the company, this project is seen as an opportunity not just to participate in the AI race, but to try to break ahead. Google already has a huge advantage in the form of its infrastructure. The company operates some of the largest data centers in the world. Its AI models are used by billions of users through search, Android, YouTube, and other services. And if Google can combine this infrastructure with a new type of AI device, this could create a completely new ecosystem. Some experts even suggest that in the long term, such devices may begin to compete with smartphones. Today, the smartphone is the main technological device for most people. But if AI assistants become sufficiently smart and convenient, they may change the way humans interact with technology. Imagine a device that constantly understands the context of your life. It knows your schedule. It helps plan tasks. It can control a smart home. It can answer questions, translate conversations, help with work, and even create content. In fact, this could become a new level of personal computer. According to insiders, it is exactly this approach that is now being considered inside Google. The company wants to create a device that will be closely integrated with its AI models. This device may become the central element of a new Google AI ecosystem. It is interesting that inside the industry, possible development scenarios for such devices are already beginning to be discussed. Some assume that AI devices may become a kind of smart companions. They may accompany the user throughout the day, helping to solve a wide variety of tasks. Other experts believe that such devices may become a new type of interface between humans and the internet. Instead of searching for information through a screen, the user can simply interact with AI directly. Artificial intelligence will understand the question, analyze the information, and give an answer. At the same time, the entire complex process of data processing will take place in the cloud. But for the user, it will look like a simple conversation with a smart device. That is why many companies are now investing huge resources in the development of such technologies. According to insiders, Google has already conducted several closed demonstrations of early prototypes of the device. These demonstrations took place inside the company and were available only to a limited circle of employees and partners. Some sources claim that a closed test of the device may take place closer to the end of this year. This test should become an important stage for the project. It will allow the company to understand how users will interact with a new type of device. It will also help Google assess the potential of a new category of products. If the tests turn out to be successful, the company may accelerate development and begin preparing the device for a broader launch. The industry is beginning to move toward a new era, an era where artificial intelligence becomes not just a technology inside devices, but the device itself. And if Google is indeed preparing its first AI device, this could become one of the most interesting technological launches in the coming years. Because what is at stake is not just a new gadget. What is at stake is the future of how people will interact with technology, and perhaps we are only at the very beginning of this new technological revolution. In recent months, a new line of global confrontation has begun to form in the technology market, one that could completely reshape the familiar architecture of personal devices and, in the long term, call into question the very dominance of smartphones. And at the center of this process, increasingly appears XAI. According to several authoritative sources, including Bloomberg, The Information, and insider reports from Silicon Valley analytical funds, active work is already underway within XAI on creating a fundamentally new class of devices that are intended to make artificial intelligence not just an application inside a phone, but a physical companion to a human. This involves a compact next-generation device that will constantly remain near the user and perform the functions of a personal assistant in real time, using the Grok model as its core, which is already considered one of the fastest developing AI products on the market. According to sources close to the development, the key idea of the project is to eliminate the need for interaction with a screen and turn AI into the interface itself. This means that the user will no longer open apps, search for information, or manually enter commands. Instead, they will simply interact with the system directly through voice, gestures, and contextual commands, while the device will understand human intent and act independently. Within the industry, an unofficial name for this concept has already emerged, post-smartphone era, and it is precisely for this era that the world's largest technology companies are now beginning to compete. At the same time, it is important to understand that XAI is not the only company moving in this direction, and according to Reuters and Financial Times, similar developments are underway at several technology giants. OpenAI, with support from former Apple chief designer Jony Ive, is already working on its own device intended to become the ideal carrier of AI. While inside Apple, according to Mark Gurman of Bloomberg, projects related to creating new device form factors capable of replacing the iPhone in the long term are being actively discussed. Moreover, at Samsung and Google, there are also closed developments aimed at creating personal AI agents embedded in wearable or compact devices that will constantly interact with the user. However, Elon Musk's strategy appears to be the most aggressive and radical. Unlike other companies that are trying to carefully integrate AI into existing products, Musk is apparently betting on a complete rethinking of the concept of the device itself. According to insiders, several possible form factors are being discussed, including a compact pocket module, a wearable device, as well as hybrid solutions that could integrate with Tesla vehicles, creating a unified ecosystem where AI accompanies the user literally everywhere. And here a key point emerges that distinguishes XAI from its competitors. Grok is already closely connected with the ecosystem of X, previously known as Twitter, and this gives it access to a massive stream of real-time data. This means that future devices will not simply answer questions, but will analyze what is happening in the world in real time, form opinions, predict events, and provide recommendations based on up-to-date information. Essentially, this is about creating a digital assistant that possesses elements of analytical thinking and can act as an extension of the user's intelligence. Some analysts are already calling this a transition to the concept of augmented intelligence, where AI does not replace humans, but enhances their capabilities. At the same time, according to industry sources, the XAI project is at an early stage of development, and it may take several years before a full release. Nevertheless, it is already clear that the stakes in this race are extremely high. The smartphone market, which for decades has been controlled by a few major players, may face the most serious challenge in its entire history. If new devices are truly able to replace the familiar functions of a phone, this will lead to a redistribution of billions in revenue streams and a transformation of the entire value chain in the industry. Chip manufacturers, software developers, telecom operators, and even app creators will all find themselves in a new reality where the key role is played not by hardware, but by system intelligence. And this is where the main question arises. Will XAI, a company that appeared relatively recently, be able to challenge such giants as Apple, Google, and Samsung? The answer to this question remains open, but it is already clear that Elon Musk is not planning to play by the rules. His strategy has always been to enter mature markets and completely rethink them, whether it was automobiles, space, or energy. And now, it seems, he is targeting the most widespread technology of our time: personal devices. At the same time, it is important to note that the very idea of creating a physical AI assistant has been discussed for years, but only now have technologies reached the level where this is becoming real. The development of neural networks, the growth of computing power, and progress in the miniaturization of electronics are creating the conditions for the emergence of devices that until recently seemed like science fiction. And if these devices are truly able to perform the functions of a personal assistant, understand context, anticipate user actions, and interact with the surrounding world, this will become one of the most significant technological shifts of recent decades. Within the industry, there is already talk that in the future, people will interact not with devices, but with a unified digital agent that will accompany them throughout their lives. This agent will know habits, preferences, goals, and even the emotional state of the user, adapting to them and helping make decisions. And if this concept is realized, smartphones in their current form may indeed fade into the past, giving way to more advanced and natural forms of interaction. Thus, the XAI project is not just another device on the market, but an attempt to change the very logic of human interaction with technology. And although its realization is still far away, it is already clear that the race for the future of personal devices has officially begun. And in this race, not only companies will participate, but entire technological ecosystems, each trying to become the foundation of a new digital reality. As this race gains momentum, it becomes obvious that this is no longer just about a technological product, but about control over the next level of interaction between humans and the digital environment. Because whoever creates the first truly mass and convenient AI device will effectively gain access to the most valuable resource of the modern era: user attention and real-time data. According to analysts from Morgan Stanley and ARK Invest, the market for personal AI devices, if successfully launched, could exceed $1 trillion within the next 10 to 15 years, automatically making it one of the main targets for the largest technology corporations. And this is where Elon Musk's strategy begins to look even more large-scale. According to sources, XAI may not limit itself to releasing a single device, but could build an entire product line that will function as a unified system connected through Grok. These could include pocket devices, wearable gadgets, integration into Tesla vehicles, as well as a potential connection with Starlink infrastructure, ensuring constant network access even in the most remote parts of the planet. Such an approach would effectively create a fully autonomous ecosystem independent of traditional platforms like iOS and Android. And if XAI truly succeeds in implementing its concept, it could lead to the most large-scale technological shift since the emergence of the internet or smartphones. Imagine a device that looks nothing like a smartphone, nor a watch, nor glasses, nor anything we are used to considering gadgets. And according to insiders, this is exactly what the first physical product of OpenAI may become, a product that within the team is already referred to by the codename Atlas. More and more leaks, indirect confirmations, and hints indicate that OpenAI is indeed preparing something fundamentally new, a device that is meant to change the very concept of human interaction with technology. According to sources close to the industry, Atlas is not just another smart device. It is an attempt to go beyond familiar screens, interfaces, and applications. If the smartphone has been the center of digital life for the past 15 years, then Atlas, by design, is supposed to completely destroy this model and replace it with something far more natural, almost invisible, but at the same time incredibly powerful. Rumors describe this device as a compact AI cube, minimalist, without a screen in the usual sense, without buttons, without a familiar interface, but inside, a full-fledged intelligence built on ChatGPT. And not just a chatbot, but a full-fledged AI companion that understands you, remembers you, adapts to you, and becomes part of your everyday life. Imagine, you ask a question, and the device instantly responds, but not just with a voice. It can project information, interact with the surrounding space, control other devices, analyze the situation in real time. This is no longer a gadget. It is the control center of your reality. And this is where the main shift lies. Because Atlas, according to rumors, will not be a device that you use. It will be a device that lives next to you, observes, learns, helps, anticipates, and at some point becomes so integrated into your life that you stop perceiving it as a separate object. Insiders also claim that the key goal of this project is to remove the need for a screen as the main method of interaction. Because a screen is a limitation, it is a frame into which the entire digital world has to fit, and Atlas is supposed to remove this frame to make interaction with AI as natural as possible, through voice, gestures, context, and environment. And this is where things get really interesting, because if these rumors are confirmed, then we may be looking at the first product in history that truly challenges smartphones, not improving them, not complementing them, but attempting to replace them. And this is already a completely different level of competition. Companies like Apple and Samsung Electronics have spent years refining smartphones, making them faster, thinner, more powerful, but no one has truly questioned the concept of the phone itself. And now, essentially, it is OpenAI that is taking the first step in this direction. And if earlier AI was just a function inside a device, now the device becomes a shell for AI. And this is a fundamental shift, because at the center there is no longer hardware, not the screen, not the design, but intelligence. According to rumors, Atlas will be built around the idea of always-on AI, meaning AI that is always active, always nearby, always ready to help. You do not open an app, you do not launch a system, you simply interact as with a live interlocutor. Imagine that you leave your home and ask, how is it best to get there? And the device does not just give a route. It takes into account traffic, weather, your habits, meetings, even your mood, and offers a solution that is perfectly suited specifically to you. Or you are working on a project, and instead of switching between dozens of applications, tabs, and services, you simply speak, and Atlas gathers information, analyzes, structures, offers solutions. This is no longer a tool, it is a partner. Some sources also hint that the device may have advanced sensors, cameras, microphones, possibly even elements of spatial perception to understand the surrounding world, not just to hear you, but to see the context, understand where you are, what is happening around you, and respond accordingly. That is why many analysts are already calling this project the first truly AI-native device. That is, a device created not around functions, but around intelligence. And if earlier we adapted to technology, learned interfaces, got used to the logic of applications, now technology begins to adapt to us. But here the main question arises: will such an approach really be able to replace smartphones? Because a smartphone is not just a device, it is an ecosystem, millions of applications, services, habits, and to displace it, it is necessary to offer not just an alternative, but something radically better. And this is exactly what Sam Altman is apparently betting on. According to rumors, the company is already preparing for the first closed demonstrations, test showcases for a narrow circle, where the basic concept of the device will be presented. The exact release date is still unknown, and most likely there are still several years before a full launch, but the very fact that such developments are underway is already changing the market. Because as soon as a new category of devices appears, a new race begins. Apple accelerates its research, Samsung invests more actively in AI, other companies begin to look for their own solutions. And at some point, we may find ourselves in a situation where the familiar smartphone will cease to be the center of our digital life, and its place will be taken by devices of a new generation, smarter, more invisible, more integrated, and perhaps Atlas will become the first step into this new era. It is still too early to say how successful this project will be, whether it will really be able to change the industry or remain an experiment. But one thing is already clear: the market is preparing for the biggest shift in recent decades. And for the first time in a while, someone is really trying not just to improve existing devices, but to completely rethink how we interact with technology. And if they succeed, then in a few years, we may look back and understand that the era of smartphones has ended, and the era of real artificial intelligence has begun, which lives next to us and becomes part of our life. And the most interesting part begins right here, because according to insiders, inside OpenAI Atlas is considered not as a single product, but as the beginning of an entire ecosystem, a device that over time will be able to synchronize with other AI devices, uniting them into a single intelligent network. Imagine that your Atlas at home, in the car, and at work is not three different devices, but one and the same intelligence that simply moves with you from one space to another. You start a task at home, continue on the road, finish in the office, and all this without switching, without losing context, without the need to transfer anything manually. Moreover, the possibility of deep personalization is being discussed. When your AI companion over time becomes unique, it knows your habits, your way of thinking, your goals, your fears, your preferences, and begins not just to respond to commands, but to offer solutions even before you formulate them, effectively turning into a digital extension of your personality. And if all this is really implemented, then we are no longer talking just about a new device, but about a transition to a completely new level of interaction between humans and technology, where the boundary between the user and the system is gradually erased. And perhaps it is at this moment that the industry will finally change, because when technology begins to understand you better than you understand yourself, there will be no turning back.